Well, it's no surprise that financial advice has been under a lot of challenge for a number of years in the industry. That's been a function of higher compliance costs, questions about the revenue model for the business. And so we've been trying to think through very systematically, how can we continue to provide advice for customers who need it while also running the business in a way that is compliant and sustainable at a time when revenue is under pressure. What we noticed in looking at the business over the last couple of years is the growth of independent financial advisors who have an independent license as opposed to planners operating under a license. And so we were seeing real growth in the independent space and a reduction in salaried planners in this environment. So what we decided strategically was it made more sense for us to work to support the movement toward independent financial advisors with our platforms and work on a referral arrangement where customers who wanted a financial advisor could be referred to someone who was highly professional and could give good advice, and where there wouldn't be even a perception that advice might be biased toward our own products. So we've been looking at different models, we've been experimenting with the referral model, and we came to the conclusion that that was the way to go.
And do you think these trends and headwinds you sort of speak of are getting stronger post the Royal Commission report?
Well, certainly there's been a lot of attention and pressure on compliance and record keeping, and that's fundamentally a good thing. Customers who want to get financial advice should be confident that it's unbiased, that they're going to be treated well, and that there's an oversight there to make sure that the process is working well in case something goes wrong. But I would say some of these trends around financial advice have been heading in this direction ever since FOFA.
And obviously we've seen some competitors either sell or announce plans to sell large chunks of their wealth businesses. How do you see this announcement today fitting into that trend?
Well, there's been a lot of questions about banks' involvement in wealth for a number of years. With the strength of BT, we've had a lot of those questions. And our view was that being in or out of wealth was not a binary question, that wealth is an umbrella term that covers general and life insurance, superannuation, investment products, investment platforms, and advice. So what we've done over the last few years is systematically work through every aspect of the business and decide, is this something that we're a credible, competitive provider of? Is this something that our customers really need? And if so, what's the best way to do that? And so we made a series of decisions progressively over time. Started with the sell down of BTIM, with the sale of Ascalon, with the sale of Hastings, which were our investment management manufacturing businesses, if you like. We came to the view that in a number of the general insurance businesses, we didn't have a competitive advantage in manufacturing, so we did a deal with Allianz, who's a leader in that, to provide their products to our customers. And so I think of this as the next step in that, where we looked hard at financial advice, recognized customers want access to it, but came to the view that ultimately the provision of advice through the independent financial channel was the best way to go.
And on the financial impact, I think there's some proceeds from the deal, but also some costs. So how does that play out over the coming periods?
Well, the reality is that financial planning as a business has actually been a losing business from a profitability point of view for a number of years for us. The costs have continued to accelerate, the revenue's been under pressure. So once the business is gone, effectively we get an increase in earnings because we don't have the loss. At the same time, because we're essentially unwinding one of our business divisions of BT and putting the businesses into the consumer division and the business division, we'll get some extra costs out of that. And clearly with revenue under pressure in the business overall across the industry, simplifying our structure, allowing us to take out cost will be helpful to profitability on a run rate basis. In the short term, there are some restructuring costs we have to incur. There are job losses that are happening, or roles at least that are being taken out of the business that come at a cost, and some of the integration work we'll spend money on. But this should be positive to earnings next year, and certainly on a run rate basis, it's a good decision for our shareholders as well as for our customers.
And on that jobs issue you raised, obviously some staff will go over to Viridian, and then Is the final FTE number or the reduction for Westpac Group FTEs, is that still sort of moving around, is it?
It's a little in flux because we don't know, as you say, how many of the advisors will ultimately choose to go across to Veridian. We hope many of them will, although that won't be an option for all of them. We think that the aggregate number of roles will be around 900 that are affected, but we'll be looking to redeploy those people into other roles in the company if there are vacancies as well. But there's a bit to go for, and the nature of these sort of situations is once we've gone public with this is the offer, this is why it's going to be a good transaction and a good offer for the financial planners, it's a lot easier for us to then be open with them and encourage them to get on board.
And lastly, just on the executive changes, some are leaving, but and also David Lindberg is going into the consumer role, which is very important given the size of that business at Westpac. Is part of this sort of reshuffle about getting some different skills and experience for what might be a different, I guess, external environment going forward?
Well, I think any good company is always looking to continue to renew and upgrade its management teams where it can, and we've said that we're going to do a global search for the business division role, and hopefully we'll identify some great talent out of that. We've got some terrific people internally as well. When you make a big change structurally like this, George Frazis and Brad Cooper both looked at it and said, you know, we've got ambitions to go on to other leadership roles elsewhere, and so this is probably a sensible time for us to make a move. I'm supportive of that. Both of them are fantastic executives, and I'm sure we'll continue to play a really important role in the industry in the future.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.